Conversate for a few.
Welcome to another episode of Conversate for a Few. I'm Jonna.
I'm Alan, and this is not a podcast about classical music.
Absolutely is not. This is a podcast about hip hop. What we doing today, bruh?
Yeah, we want to discuss how hip hop became the first multi-generational genre of music.
Okay, all right. What do we mean by the first generation, multi-generational genre of music? Because I think most people, I don't even know if people understand what that means. Maybe that might be a little bit too highbrow.
Yeah,
you think I'm giving?
Well,
yeah.
Multi, just many, right? Many generational genres. So now, see, with generation, I mean,
well, okay. Let me put it this way. I think I got a way to explain it. We've had styles of music and genres of music that lasted across generations. Rock music has lasted across generations. R&B and soul and blues and jazz has lasted across generations, right?
Right.
But hip hop being multi-generational, I think speaks to my nephews being 4 years old and 6 years old and being immersed in hip hop, and me being 48 years old and having friends in their mid 50s that are just as immersed in hip hop as those 6-year-olds.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't know that there's ever been a time where the genre of music was heralded and people were a part of that culture across multiple generations.
At the same time.
You see what I'm saying? At the same time. When the Beatles were popping, the older people weren't listening to that shit. They would call them niggas beatniks.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? When hip hop first jumped off, come on. When hip hop first jumped off, it wasn't multi-generational.
No, it was
became
just the beat generation that was doing it.
Yep.
Generation of young people that was doing it.
Yep, it wasn't. So it became multi-generational. So I think that's something I think an easy way to explain it. We're not talking about music that was consistently created across generations, because I think almost all of them would fit in that category. But the music being connected to the people across multiple generations, I think this is the first time we've had that.
Yeah.
Where if I go to the mall or I go to the grocery store, I can look at a person my age, younger or older, doesn't matter, and understand what style of music they grew up on or listened to or is most dear to their heart.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I don't know another genre of music like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. Can you think of any?
No. and I think that speaks to the point though why it became the first one to be a multi-generational in that way is because it have more defining elements than other genres. So that's the reason why we could be at the mall and see someone know exactly what their influence was, exactly, you know what I mean, what music, had the heavy influence on them.
Yeah. It's funny in hip hop, not only could you see what type of music they enjoy, you could look at a person and tell what part of the world they listen to hip hop from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, ain't that wild? Like hip hop is a wild thing. Like you could look at a person and tell whether you could, not so much now. But there was a time when you could look at a person and tell whether they listen to mostly New York hip hop or East Coast hip hop or mostly West Coast hip hop or mostly down south. You could see it.
Yeah.
But you could always see the hip hop on them.
Mm-hmm.
But you can see the regionality too,
Yeah.
So that is one of the things. Hip hop has a fashion quotient that is so embedded, that it like rock had one too for a while, but it went through the glam rock thing, punk rock, grunge, it's just, sometimes you didn't know whether you was looking at a skater, a rocker, an atheist. You ain't, I mean, an anarchist. You didn't know what the
Right,
fuck you was
right.
looking at. You know what I mean? And maybe they knew.
Yeah.
So bless you. So maybe we not giving other cultures enough credit. You think?
Uh, well, no, I still stand with you on your original statement. I mean, I
Yeah.
think they may have, but to a way more limited degree. It was definitely not as
Mm,
apparent as in hip hop, and
right.
as massive.
Right.
I think.
I would agree. I would agree. And there's a in other genres of music, right? Outside of the music and maybe the fashion, right? I can't really
Mhm.
think of too many other tenets
Mm.
that were how do you put it, native to that culture. Like, what are the tenets of R&B?
Don't know.
You know what I mean? Don't know. What are the tenets of rock music? When I look that up, the only thing I could find is like, what is the ideology of rock music? You know, it's like rock is
Right.
distinguished from pop as the authentic expression of a performer or composer's feelings and the authentic representation of a social situation. Rock is at once the mainstream of commercial music and a romantic art form of voice from the social margins.
Mm.
Wow. Rock was supposed to be from the social margins, which is why it fell apart.
Yeah.
So, you know, they all start at the social margins. We should know that.
Yeah.
All music starts at the social margins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which shouldn't
Yeah.
surprise us, and because we started it.
Yeah. Because we started it. Yeah. It shouldn't surprise us because we started it. Right. That shouldn't have been a surprise at all. The fact that they maintained it, though, and that's what they felt like they was doing for so long. I
Yeah.
guess it came and went.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it came and went. But yeah, it when I look for their tenets and characteristics, everything I find is they're about musical aesthetics, not cultural
Yeah. Yeah.
aesthetics. Is, I guess is what I'm saying. I do the same thing, R&B, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can find key elements. I can find structure. I can find components of R&B music, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they would say the components, soul music, funk music, pop music, and after 86, hip hop.
Mm.
That's wild.
Yeah.
After 86, they say they started throwing hip hop in it. We gotta look into that.
Yeah.
We gotta look into that. That, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we gotta look into that. They saying 86. I wonder when it, like, when we would say,
Mm-hmm.
just on listening. Uh, I bet you somebody rapped on a song before 86. Rapped on an R&B song before 86.
Had to.
I would say. But like I said, those don't have tenants. They got components of the music, you know. Um, and I keep saying tenants, and maybe some of my younger listeners don't know why I keep mentioning the word, but hip hop does have tenants. Hip hop culture
Mm-hmm.
has tenants,
Mm-hmm.
and the four tenets of hip hop: MCing,
DJ.
breakdancing, DJing, and graffiti.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
and anywhere in the world right now, you can go anywhere in the world, and you're gonna find somebody breakdancing, DJing, doing some graffiti, and rapping.
That's a fact.
I
Yeah.
don't care where you go.
That's a fact.
That's a fact. That's a fact. So now it's hip hop culture. These people you seeing doing it probably ain't gonna be black.
Mm-mm.
In certain places they're gonna be black. In all honesty, most of the graffiti artists, the dope graffiti artists I know of today, ain't black.
Yeah.
Most of the dope break dancers I know today ain't black.
Mm-hmm.
I know of some, but most of them ain't black. Most of the dopest MCs I know are black. Most of the dopest DJs I know are black. But I
Yeah.
know a whole lot of dope white DJs are dope, Asian DJs are dope, Latino DJs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So hip hop culture is much broader than black culture. It was started by black culture.
Right.
Um, but the tenets themselves were not black.
Mm-hmm.
The tenets themselves were mediums of art
Yeah.
that combined to create a culture.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we mad early in the episode, but
Yeah.
in my opinion, that is the sole reason that hip hop became a multi-generational genre of music.
Right. I agree. Now I'm going to say the same thing you just said because I was about to give my answer to that's how it became a
Yeah,
multi-generational, right, genre of music. It's because of that. But the way I'm going to say is everybody, because you said it was started by blacks, but the tenets wasn't black themselves. The actual tenets that comprised hip hop, right? They were mediums for artistic
right,
expression. Therefore, every race, nationality, and regardless of race, color, creed, or religion, can find their place somewhere in hip hop because they have multiple avenues
right.
for artistic expression. So it's the one music, and that's why hip hop is the greatest. That's why hip hop is the greatest. It's because
Yeah,
every person on the earth can find their self somewhere to fit in the mold of hip hop,
that's right.
and that's
That's
the
right.
beauty of it.
And that is the beauty of it. And because hip hop is created, it's an amalgamation. Hip hop isn't one thing. It
Right,
isn't one set of drums or one riff. You see what I'm saying? Or one type of bass tone. It's an amalgamation of all sorts of music. You know, you might sample something from a Latin song, or sample something from a Celtic song, or sample something from you know what I mean, a song from anywhere, Arabia, Saudi Arabia. It doesn't matter.
right.
And you might throw some trap drums on them joints. You might throw some drums that came from Vanilla Fudge. You know what I mean? It don't, so it's all going. It's like gumbo.
Hmm. And that,
So if you listen to it closely, you can hear yourself. You are in it somewhere.
mhm.
There's a part of you in hip hop somewhere. If you listen long enough, you will find yourself there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's that right there. Musically, I think is outside of these tenets. Musically, that's one of the reasons that it's multi generational. It's because it's so reflective
Right.
of society itself, right? Rock music, like I said earlier, they said that it distinguished itself from pop music, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it came from the social margins and it spoke more authentically about people's plights and what was going on with the actual human, right? And pop music was thought to be a little bit more plastic and everything. Um, I feel like hip hop was able to supplant rock in that way, especially with that general message, because it came at a time where it was more authentic and more from the margins and more than where rock had grown to. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It just became the new truth teller,
Right.
you know, of sorts. When Bob Dylan and Marvin Gaye and the boys back in the day, yeah, Marvin Gaye wasn't rock, but he was because we started it. But you know what I
Yeah. Yeah.
mean? The boys back in the day doing rock and the social climate music, the music that moved the social the culture.
Mm-hmm.
I think we took that mantle, you know.
Right. Right.
Um,
Mm. The diversity. That's the other thing. The diversity of
mm,
of the actual music is also why. And
yeah,
this is a point I probably will bring back up whenever we talk about Islam and hip hop because I found the parallel is crazy. But check it, like
mm,
rap rap music is considered to be the youngest genre of music. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
younger than jazz,
Yeah.
younger
Yeah.
than rock, younger than classical, younger, right? But it is
Hmm.
the genre that encompasses and incorporates everything before,
Yeah.
which
Yep.
makes it a
Yep.
timeless music, which makes it again, everyone can find their place in it. Now, here's the funny thing: we talked about,
Yeah.
out of all the religions, Islam has had the most influence in hip hop. Now, the Arabic language is considered the youngest Semitic language in terms of written form, but the the
Right.
linguists, the people that study language say, but that written Arabic is the closest to how the Semitic,
Hmm.
the Proto-Semitic, the mother of all of the Semitic language. It says it preserves the oldest of the earliest, Semitic languages. I just thought that is fucking
Right.
phenomenal. Just thinking about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to mention
Yeah.
how graffiti looks
And
like
if you when you
Arabic too. But go ahead.
exactly, and when you read the Quran, it encompasses everything that came before it.
Right. Bible, the
You know what I
Torah, the
mean? But
Gospel.
still,
Right.
the Bible, the Torah, yeah, all of that is in
Right.
the
Right.
Quran. But you get the
Right.
Quran, like everything that came before hip hop is in hip
Right.
hop, but you get hip hop.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's tons of
Yeah.
parallels, bro. That's
Yeah.
dope. Yeah, I mean, you know,
And and
uh,
this, I hope people don't take it as
huh,
religious, but the parallels is just too, not eerie. It's just too
uh,
blatant, right? We, you, and it's the
yeah,
crazy thing. Like I remember, like sitting with you and you sampling, and or I'm listening to something, and like as my ears became more in tune, I'm hearing, oh, this came from this sample and finding stuff. But it made me have a better love for the music that was generations past me. You know what I mean? The 60s, the 70s, when I was
right,
even born.
right,
Hearing how it was repurposed in my time and the samples was chopped, it was so fire. It made you go back, and I would actually just listen to the records and the songs themselves, and I fell in love with that. So this is here's the thing. Here's the parallel. So hip hop bears witness to everything that came before it. Like some people
right,
diverse, like some other genres of music, they, they like to divorce themselves from hip hop, or hip hop having any connection to it. You know what I mean?
right,
And
right.
so, but
I
it
do.
brings to mind when you talked about how the Quran, it contains everything before it, and and it does, and it has a verse that says, "We believe in that which has been revealed to thee," meaning Muhammad of the Quran, and it says, "And
Hmm.
we believe in that which was revealed before thee, Torah, Gospel."
Before
Right.
thee.
So like
Yeah,
we
that's
bear
right.
witness
That's
to
right.
this new thing, this new genre of hip hop, but we
Yeah.
also bear witness and believe and love and appreciate the rock that came before it, classical music,
Yeah.
jazz, all of the other
Jazz,
elements that came
blues.
before it.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. That's right. It's funny because you said something while you were speaking. You were like, not to get religious about it, and it's
Right,
not religious,
right.
right? But I just wanted to make sure that my thoughts were correct before I went to speaking. So I googled who created the tenets of hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you had to answer that question just off the top of your head, what would the answer be?
Wow. Um, uh, man, to be honest, I don't know. I'll just throw out there and say Grandmaster Caz has something to do with it.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just
Okay.
throwing that
The
out
first person I
there
thought
because I
about was
really don't
Africa
have a.
Bambaataa.
When I start thinking about it, it
Right,
could be like
African Bambaataa.
anyone.
You hear me? African Bambaataa. I'm
So
telling
I
you what
was
it
going.
was.
So now two things. Yeah, I was going to say Grandmaster Caz,
Right.
African Bambaataa, and I really was going to say African Bambaataa first.
Right. That was the first person that
Yeah,
popped in
yeah,
my
yeah.
head. You know what I mean? The Zulu
Zulu
Nation and
Nation.
Africa
Yeah,
Bambaataa. Yeah, that's who gets credit for doing it. You know for a fact that man was using he was using religious tactics
Yeah,
to make hip hop do what it was supposed to do in the Bronx at
yeah,
the time. We know
yeah.
that, right? So it is not surprising that it worked.
Right. Just right. Yeah, yeah.
Like putting tenets on something, that's not music, that's culture, that's
Mm-hmm.
religion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what
the
I mean?
tenets of
Like he knew what he
Islam.
was doing. And it yeah, like the tenets of
Mm-hmm.
Islam. That's why it's so close. He knew what he was doing. There was no mistake
Right.
there. So I think we really starting to uncover why it was you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not necessarily a question that people ask, but if we're gonna ask the question, we might as well think about all the reasons that it happened, or as many as that we can come
Right,
up with,
right.
right? Um Africa Bambaata's approach um to push hip hop where he was, I think is why it worked the way it did.
Mm-hmm.
Like adding those pillars. It says this here. Who created the elements of hip hop? The pillars, the rocks that ushered hip hop into the 21st century as a cultural phenomenon were formulated by DJ Africa Bambaataa of the hip hop collective Zulu Nation. The knowledge of the five pillars might not be widespread, but its structural significance should not be understated.
5 pillars. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And they say the fifth one is knowledge.
Right. That's religious.
Because we got four.
Right.
That's
Mm-hmm.
religious. That's religious. So it's MCing, and that's how they break it: oral,
Mm-hmm.
right? Oral, physical, visual, mental.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ain't that real close to arm, leg, arm, head?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they know what they
Yeah.
doing. They knew what they were doing,
Yeah.
bro. They knew what they were doing. I'm so happy it worked.
Yeah, yeah. It worked. It definitely worked, man.
I'm so happy it worked, bro. Yeah, it definitely worked, man. It definitely worked. Man, so creating tenants, and now we know, but like if you do something, we talk about this a lot, right? But it's the intent with which you do things with.
Mm-hmm.
And if you add all of those ingredients that you know what I mean that are built on that
Yeah.
intent, that thing will likely act the way it will perform the way you wanted
Yeah.
it to. We ain't talking about the success of it. You know what I mean? We just talk about the way people adapted to it or attracted
Right.
to it. Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, Africa Bambaataa is not a name that is proudly spoken of in hip hop circles nowadays. I mean, ain't no need in getting to this part of the show and bringing his name up and not
Right.
mentioning it. But he did do this good thing. He might be a dirtbag, but he did do this good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
This great thing.
Right. Right.
Yeah, this great thing. Outside of the outside of MCing,
Mm-hmm.
which one of the tenants did you get closest to?
The next one would be absolutely graffiti. Graffiti.
Okay.
Like there
Okay.
was a time.
That's
See,
the one you were closest to
this
next.
was crazy. There was a time like 9-4, 9-5. We running around, especially when Artifacts, Wrong Side of the Tracks came out. Like we all
Oh,
was trying to be
yeah,
super nice at graffiti and creating our own tags and all of that. Like spray grounds,
Dope.
everything. And we trying to be dumb nice to that, yo. And mind you, like a lot
Okay, so
of
y'all
people
had
down
y'all.
here
Yeah.
in school, right? We all in visual arts class. You know what I mean? So
Right.
yeah,
Dope. Yeah. I think the one I got closest to was probably breaking or
yeah,
dancing. You know what I mean? Like outside of rapping, I mean, of course I drew graffiti, but that was like on pieces of paper. I don't know a kid that didn't grow up trying to at least draw some bubble
right, right.
letters You know what I mean? Get they shading right with the graffiti. So everybody
Yeah, yeah,
tried it. You know what I mean? But I didn't really get deep off in graffiti. But I started shit. I would probably started with Michael Jackson, and then found my way to
yeah,
breakdancing. You know what I mean? And then found my way to Scoob and Scrap Lover. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And niggas like that. So the dancing part, I was dancing before I was rapping.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I never DJ'd. Yeah, but yeah, breaking was the one. Breaking was the one. Uh, one that might be added because I was gonna ask you if you had to add a tenant, what would you add?
That's a good one. So and this probably is biased, but it's funny because I was going to say this. Um, Photography.
Yeah,
Hmm.
photography.
Yeah,
Wow, that's a dope one.
because one of the things, as you know, what I mean, hip hop is developing, and people having sessions, performances. One of the things that go hand in hand with
Yeah,
that is people capturing the actual moments.
that's the word I was gonna use instead of photography. I was gonna use
Capture.
capture.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, capture should be because photography,
right.
videography, just
Capturing the
capturing the
moment. Yeah,
moment should be a hip hop
yeah.
tenant. Yeah, I was gonna add fashion.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you just
Yeah,
born a new a new
MC,
episode. We're gonna go over the 2023 tenets of hip hop. We'll add all the
hey,
new ones.
well, that might not go. The good ones because 2023, some people would say
Oh
crime.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, yeah, so yeah, we have the good tenets of hip hop. But I think capture is a great one. Yeah, capture, fashion, MCing, graffiti, DJing, breaking. Mm. I don't. Yeah, yeah. Those are the tenants. I think. I don't think. I don't. I can't think of. I can't think of what would another one be outside of capture and
Yeah.
fashion. Right. That's just part of hip hop. Cause production is like a. You know what I mean? Like that you could produce for anything.
That's true.
So I don't think that
I
needs to
don't
be
think
a
so.
tenet of hip hop. Like beat making. I don't think
Right.
so.
Oh yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I
Nah,
don't
but
think so. But and the type of. But I mean, maybe that's akin to DJing though, because DJing is not a hip hop thing, but there is a specific way to DJ
yeah,
inside hip hop.
yeah. Hmm.
Just like music production is not a hip hop thing, but there is a specific thing,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, that is akin to hip hop production that don't fit nothing else. But I won't add that. That just seems selfish on my part, just because I wanted
Yeah,
to
I was
be
gonna
one of
say,
them
I
though.
bet a bunch of producers would say that it should be added.
Yeah, they would, they would. But I do think we got the right ones though. Um, a question we always ask is like, will it sustain? You know what I mean? Uh, so this is a tricky question. I'm gonna answer it
Okay.
first before I'm gonna go ahead and answer it. I I think it will sustain, right? Hip hop culture will sustain,
Okay.
but I think it will likely eventually go the way of rock and or pop music, which it just gets too accessible, and a new truth teller comes.
Mm. Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think hip hop will sustain until we see the next truth teller. That sounds
I
really
know.
religious.
Ah,
That
that's funny.
sounds really religious, bro. Yeah, but I think that's the way I see it. Until there's another truth telling genre that emerges from the
Right.
people.
Right.
from the people, then hip hop will be what it is.
Yeah.
Hip hop will be what it is, and it may stay hip hop because the creation of music is only going to get less expensive. They're not going to go back to buying guitars and drum sets and saxophones and clarinets. That's not going to happen. So the music will be created by the people that have the cheapest tools. So we might fuck around and really see AI music take over.
Yeah. Yeah.
People that's got access to the cheapest tools are gonna make the music that got the most to say. They got access to the cheapest tools,
Yeah. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
truth tellers. What the hip hop get started with? The cheapest possible tool you could get your hands on. Turntable
Yep.
and a microphone. So yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely think it'll sustain itself until we get another
Yeah.
truth teller.
And I don't even know how that would look or sound
That's what I was thinking about.
because I feel like
Mm.
it's been like we just seen so many. Like what could be
Well, then nobody know. Nobody could have predicted this.
this?
You feel me? Like nobody could have predicted the look and feel and the sound of
Oh
hip hop.
yeah.
So to think that we would be able to do it, I don't even know why we would expect that. Because can't nobody. Nobody would have ever predicted that. Hooking a microphone up to a turntable would have us 50 years later having this conversation about why it was the first multi-generational music
Right.
genre of music. And you know what? Maybe we need to rephrase that question because it wasn't the first multi-generational genre of music. It was the first multi-generation culture of music.
Right.
The music has been multi-generational forever, but this is the first culture that has been multi-generational. So maybe we need to reframe that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. This might have been one that we could wrap up quick because I think we got to the
We
answer.
definitely got to the answer faster than I anticipated.
Yeah, like I don't way faster than I anticipated. But it's I think it's still an important conversation. Like every conversation don't got to be an hour long. You know what I mean? Like it ain't. You had a conversation to get the thought out of your head, and maybe that's what it was. Because we touched on some things that were really important pretty quick. You know what I mean? That how close hip hop may seem to a religion or Islam, to be specific. Why we believe it became a culture and not just a genre of music. And that leads back to Africa Bambaataa. It was purposeful. If that's one thing I want to ask, had Africa Bambaataa not added the tenets and not made it a culture, does hip hop survive?
I would say yes. What I think would have happened though is somewhere down the line of as it kept developing, and you know what I mean, in the later '80s, '90s. What I think is along the line, someone somewhere would have said like set some criteria for what is hip hop. Like somebody would have came up with, I feel like some type of criteria for it at some point.
See,
Because
I understand that sentiment, but
and I'm basing that off of off of it, off of artists wanting to distinguish themselves from other artists being nice. See, that was the general temperament or sentiment of the artists of the music. So they also wanted to distinguish the genre, I think, from other genres. I think they because they was getting, and you know how it was in the beginning with hip hop not being widely accepted. Um, so I think they wanted to, and because this is what usually happened. Then you kind of codify some type of, some type of code or criteria for your, what you're a part of. So that's what I think. I think they would have
Right.
codified something, somebody. So
Yeah. Parts of me agrees. I don't. Parts of me agrees. I don't know if I agree for the
okay,
same reason. I think it probably would have sustained. I think the music would have
yeah,
sustained, right? I don't know that it ever would have gotten to the place that it is now. I don't think it would have gotten as big as it did, um, or as it has. But I think it would have lasted for quite a while. The music, because the music was just that viable and it was good enough and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
strong enough. You know what I mean? Hip hop music is
right,
great music, but I don't think it would have been a multi-generational culture thing just based on the music. I think the tentacles of those tenants had
no,
to
yeah,
go
I
out
agree with that.
to make it.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying? Like a hip hop DJ was able to carry hip hop into places that a rapper was never gonna be
hmm.
accepted. Like right now, right? DJ Paradigm got a whole company called Cool Receptions, and it's a fleet of DJs, and they doing all types of wedding receptions and events and everything. Them niggas
Right,
is hip hop.
yeah, yeah. Hmm.
You see what I'm saying? They stone
Hmm.
cold hip hop, but DJing is carrying hip hop into them rooms. They ain't asking for no rap in the rooms though. They don't want no rap at their fucking wedding reception.
Yeah,
You feel me? Uh,
yeah,
you see what I mean? Like breakdancing. Do you understand breakdancing is at the next
yeah.
Olympics?
You told me.
Did
Nah,
you know
you
that?
told me.
Breakdance. Yeah, breakdancing is a part of the next Olympics.
Right.
What in the fuck?
Hmm.
So you see what I mean? So like hip hop don't go as far as it does without those
Right.
tentacles. MCing won't
Right.
gonna be
Right.
enough.
Right.
So I think the music would have lasted for quite a while. I think we probably still have hip hop. I don't think it would have just
Right.
gone away, but the influence that the music had.
Yeah, I agree.
So I agree with you. Yes, the music would have sustained. Yeah, but the culture and it being multi generational and I still care about it as much as my nephews.
Yeah.
That part
Yeah.
would have
Yeah.
disappeared.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think that part would have disappeared.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's wild. But yeah, so I think this was
It was.
in depth,
Yeah.
comprehensive, and thoughtful.
Yeah.
I think so, bro. I don't think we gotta
Nah.
push it. I don't think we gotta push it, man. So subscribe and hit the notification bell on YouTube. Go subscribe to the Facebook and the Instagram at Conversate for a Few. Stay tuned for the limited edition Futane Clan merch. I guess with that, I'm Jonna.
I'm Alan. This was not a podcast about classical music.
Absolutely was not. This was a podcast about hip hop. Make room for the tag.
Conversate for a few.
Hustle. Welcome, man, they had to send me. Hustle from Raleigh, live from NC with your hosts, John and Alan. Relate to the two. You are now listening to Conversate for a Few. Check it on SoundCloud, debate with your crew. They talking hip hop from the late to the new. From July till June end. No Fridays for me. Tune in. Please listen to this podcast. 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 Please listen to this podcast.